Good evening. Welcome to the Toon review tonight on a very special occasion. Our signing of Sandro Tonali has been confirmed today, as you all know already, no doubt. But we're going to have an in-depth look at him too. But if you are new to this channel and you like what you see, hit that thumbs up button because it really helps us out. It pushes us up the search engine on YouTube, so other like-minded football fans can see something good is going on here. You can also subscribe to the channel by hitting the subscribe button. Heading for 22,000 now. We're over 21,000 the weekend. So we're rapidly rising up the charts of Newcastle United YouTube channels. That's free to do so. And you can also become a member by hitting the join button, which is a paid subscription, really. And it entitles you to prize draws, things like that. A few perks in there. But first, before we go any further, Stato and Jack are with me. We're going to go through what something happened earlier today. And it's about this fellow here, Mr. Karl Darlow, who is heavily linked with Bournemouth and Leeds United. Jack, what do you think of that? Mike's off. Stato, you say yours first then.
Yeah, well, I've not seen these links today. I've been thoroughly focused on the Tonali stuff. I mean, we need to do something with the goalkeeper situation. It's looking like it's most probably going to be Pope and Dubravka as the first two choices, depending on how Dubravka feels about being number two. Although he's going to get more chances to play next year now we're in a European competition. And then the rest are just going to be third choice and beyond. So I think Karl Darlow is too good of a keeper to be sat as a third choice. I think he probably should be playing somewhere. He had a good season at Hull last year. And it's probably a good move for all involved, to be fair.
Yeah, I agree. A Premiership club especially, Jack, could afford his wages. More so the Championship club could, and a potential £5 million transfer fee to boot.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Alex on that one. He's too good to be benched. I mean, I remember seeing it in the lockdown season. He was absolutely sensational for us. Made some key saves. So he definitely shouldn't be sitting on the bench eating a wage up. So yeah, I think a Bournemouth move would be better off Premier League football. And he definitely gives some goalkeepers there a good run for their money. And he'd definitely be in a starting place for Bournemouth. And what better career to be playing in the Premier League? I mean, you want to be playing in the Premier League. It's the best league in the world. So I think a Bournemouth move would be brilliant for Karl Darlow.
I couldn't agree more. I think it's a really good move for all parties concerned, especially if we get a nice fee for him too. Let's go for the comments before we get on to Mr. Tonali. Keith's in the house. Good evening to you, Keith. Matt's Axelson too. Peter Dolan says Tonali is going to be absolutely monumental for us, because in addition to all of his phenomenal stats and the promise of so much more to come, he's also a linguini man who likes a drop of grappa. Star. Well, there you go. You're learning stuff every day about our new signing. Up the pizza, spinning Saudi Mag, says Jason. Evening to you, Jock and Tom. He says Benvenuto Tonali. Everyone's suddenly fluent Italian. Have you noticed? Lots of people talking with Italian diction, let's say. Tom also says, don't forget to hit the likes and why not subscribe if you haven't done it. It's free. Well said, mate. Mark Moore's in the house too. Even to you, we are the question mark. Tom says, great to see TTR expanding into the world of Patreon too. Very good first pod on there today. Alex, want to have a quick mention about Patreon?
Yeah, so for anybody interested, it's been a long time coming. We've been putting a lot of work behind the scenes to figure out how we were going to do it. So some additional content for people, obviously, for those who love the YouTube shows. The YouTube shows are extremely important, as are the daily videos. And being on the channel here, we'll do prize draws and quizzes and all kinds of things. But the Patreon's going to be a slightly different thing. There are occasions where we'd like to go into some depth on certain topics that we can't really do in a live show because it's more of a broad thing. So the Patreon gives us an opportunity to go into detail and do podcasts on anything and everything. So we've got one up that me and Paul recorded over the weekend on the future of Jamal Lewis, of what's next Jamal Lewis. So a few people have already had a little listen to that. So we went into his career to date, whether we still think he's got potential, he could stay with us, whether he needs to move away, the fees, a full deep dive into that. So the Patreon's going to involve a series of everything, whether it's transfer shows, players in the existing squad, matches, Champions League sort of reviews. It's just going to be an extension of the channel, so we can do pretty much anything we want. Billy and Tom are going to do some interesting things as well. I don't know if I'm allowed to say these things, yeah? Or
Yes.
So some sort of historical podcasts, and there's going to be all kinds of fun and interesting things on there. So it's just extra and additional content for people that want more Toon review, essentially.
Roach says, evening all from the San Siro to the San Jimbo. Welcome, Sandro Tonali, to the Toon Army. I like that, the San Jimbo. That's good. So this was Sandro Tonali this season. And this is him now, of course. That's his, obviously not his, he's not been taking a photo in his Newcastle shirt as yet. Not officially. I don't think he's even in the country yet. He's probably having a bit of a holiday after his under-21 exploits, but he's officially signed. Alex has got some stuff on him. We're going to go into it in more depth in a minute after we do a few more comments. Where do we get to here? We're United with Chris Bailey says, anyone know when pre-season tickets go on sale? No idea, mate. No idea. Evening to Julie J. Hi to Paul Sales and Chippers. Sophia, evening to you. Lots of people saying hello. Hello. Lots of policemen together there. Baz Down Under says, to Statso, why would he leave? Why would he leave Milan? That's the question. Why would Sandro Tonali leave?
To me, why would he leave Milan? Well, it's the potential to be playing more competitive football and to be part of a bigger project. As historical as Milan are, obviously we banter them a little bit because their fans have been utterly spiteful and ridiculous in the last 2 years. Horrid how some fans have behaved for Milan. That aside, I can put that to one side and identify that Milan are a great club. I do like them. I like the kit, style, the heritage, the city, the stadium. It's all very, very cool. So why would he move away? Well, it's the chance for this new footballing project. You've seen how Bruno's suddenly gone from a double pivot sort of decent player in Lyon to all of a sudden being one of the stars of the Premier League, being a linchpin in that Brazil side, and is going to be playing consistent Champions League football and part of a team that's going to be challenging for everything. And Tonali, he's probably going to be Italy captain one day. This is a chance for him to write his name in the stars. And he could have done that in Milan realistically, but he's going to get a better chance at winning everything and being one of the elite of the game with us. So he's taken that chance. And especially, I think, I was listening to some stuff today on my lunch break about how managers want to work with Klopp and different managers. Judging on how Eddie Howe has brought on players and the way we play, I can see players starting to think, I wouldn't mind working under Eddie Howe with the way we play, the intensity, the offensive system, how he's brought on players' games. He's always backing them, the atmosphere. It must be really, really interesting as a player looking at the club. So what can't he do? He knows that Sean Longstaff is in that position. He knows he's going to be better than Sean Longstaff. He can come and make a name for himself immediately and set the Premier League alight.
Well, a £5 super chat from Jay Devlin. He says, in RVI for a treatment, I look forward to this show to take my mind off things. Keep up the great work, guys. Oi, Tonali, bless the NHS staff. Jay Devlin, I hope you get well soon, mate. Get better as soon as possible. We echo sentiments towards NHS. Fantastic body of people that work there. And get well soon. Sophia, this is a question that people have been asking about him fitting in with the Newcastle players and who can speak Italian. Of course, the man who can speak the language of love is Cher. It has to be him. I was just saying in the chat that Cher speaks Italian, so that should help Tonali settle in. Important, isn't it, Alex or Jack? Jack, let's just have someone to speak the same language as him, help him settle in.
Just like when Bruno came in, Joe Linton translated stuff for him as well. It's very, as we know, Eddie Howe wants a squad here. He wants people to feel united in the dressing room. He wants to have a nice atmosphere and to have a player in. We don't know whether he knows much English or not. I don't personally know. If he does, then great. But if he doesn't, then like Sophie said there, we share knowing Italian. It's good for him to bring him in and players to make him feel welcome, and that he has the relaxation of knowing that he can speak Italian and people can speak Italian back. But it'll be up to Tonali to learn some English as well as what Bruno's been doing as well, because ultimately he will need to speak a bit of English as well on the pitch as well. But we do know Bruno and Maxi do speak French on the pitch as well, which is a bit interesting. But yeah, it's good for Tonali as well to come in knowing that he can speak his language and still be a part of the team and still communicate with the players.
Yeah, I agree with that. Alex, what's the first screen we've got then? Let's have a look. See the first kind of in-depth look at Tonali. I think we're looking at where he started, is it?
Yeah, so Tonali at Brescia, of course, he came through from his boyhood club. Well, I say boyhood club. He grew up close to Milan, so Brescia is where he started. So this is kind of what he was about as a teenager. An 18, 19-year-old got promoted from Serie B up to Serie A, played the full season for Brescia as the main number 6, the shield in front of the back four, as effectively as a child, and he did it incredibly well. And these are some statistics from that season in the top right. So that's the shape that they played, and that's his position. So despite being a deep-lying playmaker and more of a defensive shield, he was still outputting some incredible offensive statistics, some very useful statistics. You're looking at 2 key passes in the 90th percentile. He got crosses in there. His assist figures were really, really good. At 1 assist every 5th game. As a deep-lying playmaker or as a sort of a defensive midfielder is really, really good. Shot creating actions for teammates. He was creating, sort of giving 4 shots to other teammates per game in things that he was doing, whether he was progressing the ball, whether he's carrying it, passing it off, long passes. Progressive passes as well is really, really tidy, above average. And ball recoveries in the 80th percentile, 6.75 per game. So I don't think he's being signed as a 6. I alluded to this a minute ago that I think he's being signed to play as a right-sided 8. I think he's better off on the right-hand side. But he will definitely play there. But this just shows you, I think he can definitely do that rotation between Bruno and back to the 8. That's definitely going to be a seamless transition, in my opinion. And I even think Joe Linton's shown quite a lot of good qualities in being able to cover 6 occasionally when necessary. He's not really put a foot wrong. I think it was once where he lost the ball in a silly position. But the fluidity and the ability to sort of change that midfield will be really, really high with Tonali.
And which age was he here, Alex, when he was playing in such a responsible role as a number 6 is, of course?
This was 18 and 19 years old, I think, 2 seasons at Brescia.
Unbelievable, isn't it, to have that kind of responsibility and sail through it with flying colours at that age? I mean, it kind of signifies what kind of quality we're getting here, doesn't it?
Well, indeed. If I scroll across, I don't know if it's on this one. So these are the players he was stat matched with at this age in his first season in Serie A. So you've got Miralem Pjanic, of course, not amazing anymore, but was very, very, very decent for Juventus once upon a time, went to Barcelona. Bentancur, we know, is a very, very tiny midfielder, and Locatelli's very highly rated. So for him at 18, 19 years old to be rated among those players is an incredible achievement.
Well, I've been a bit remiss here because obviously the big guy isn't here with us tonight. So he has sent a message, and it's this. Good that I can't be on tonight. My son Ben has just tested positive for COVID an hour ago. So Daddy Duty's call. So that's why Paul isn't with us. Ben's just been tested positive. Otherwise, he would have been with us. So if anyone's asking in the chat, which you will be obviously later, that's the reason why. Jack, that's really positive, isn't it? Seeing Tonali having such a massive role in the side. As number 6, a big defensive role, lots of responsibility there. Just 18 and doing it so well.
Yeah, such a young age as well to have because it's not an easy position, number 6, because you're ultimately the shield of the back four. If something goes past you, then it's up to the back four and the goalkeeper to not let a goal in. But if you just take a look at them stats that Alex has provided, I mean, they are wonderful stats. I mean, they are just something to get you excited for. And this wasn't even at AC Milan either. So he's just progressed even more from this. So it's just a heads up of what you're going to be getting at Newcastle United with Sandro Tonali. He's just a fabulous, fabulous player. And he's definitely a leader on the pitch. And Tonali playing that position, like Alex said, he's not brought in just to play the 6. He can play multiple positions in the midfield area. Bruno can be able to push forward now, knowing Tonali is very comfortable in that number 6 position if he needs be. So it's just a real heads up on what Tonali is going to be like for Newcastle, and he's going to be fantastic. And I really, really can't wait.
So Brescia, Alex, this would have been Serie B, would it not, when he was playing there?
No, this data's from his Serie A when they got promoted.
Oh wow! So he's actually doing it in the top leagues.
Yeah, this is him marked against the top 5 leagues in Europe and his peers in Serie A.
So from Brescia, where did he progress to next, mate?
So we've got his time. Well, I've actually got his FBref profile for Brescia. So this is how he fared up when he was at Brescia. So this is when he was sort of 18, 19 years old. So very good take on statistics, progressive passes, kind of safe with the ball. Again, very high shot creating actions here. We can see over on this side the nice little graphic of when he was there. But so he moved on to Milan. So we've got Milan here. I just need to move my notes out of the way of this. So I've not got everybody here. 2 seasons at Milan that stand out in the last 2 seasons. Started off on the right-hand side. Struggled a little bit when he first joined, but right-hand side of midfield. I think I've got the passing statistics on the top right as well. I have. So he started off with an 82% pass completion rate in his season when he played as the right side in a double pivot, and he had Krunic or Benacer next to him. Typically, they would drop a little bit deeper, and Tonali would be the sort of box-to-box midfielder. So not so much of a defensive midfielder anymore. He's got the ball recovery ability, but he was very much more of a box-to-box midfielder, making things happen. And it would always be Krunic or Benacer that would drop in. So better passing statistics. I can already see in the chat a bunch of people talking about his passing percentage. There is a reason for that. I'll explain. I haven't seen the Tifo video yet. I will go and watch that. However, so he is the one that's always licensed with the dangerous pass, the killer ball. From this position, he was always tasked essentially. If we get the lines out, which one do we want? We want that one. So he was always tasked with playing the ball over the top, or the long ball to the striker, or he would play the long switch over there. Maybe he'd be positioned out on this side, and he'd play a crazy ball to the back post, or a crazy switch over to this side. And, you know, when you're tasked with that, it is going to hurt your passing statistics. He always attempts the most long balls. In fact, for passing distance last season, only 4 players, and I have taken some data and inspiration from Kev and Jake Jackman's article they wrote for YI Scout, which is amazing. I definitely recommend reading that. It's very, very good. So only 4 players actually achieved a longer pass length than Tonali, and they were 2 goalkeepers and 2 centre-halves. So he is important. He's very, very important at playing those long balls. It's something that Sean Longstaff can't really do. So we can see that the position I've put Tonali in here, we can definitely see a lot more. Because in our setup, we often see Kieran Trippier and Miguel Almiron always in these sort of these positions together up here. And often it's quite tricky. Whereas Longstaff, when he floats here, not much comes off when Longstaff tries to do things in these positions. Whereas if it's Tonali in control of that, it will. He's considerably better and got a much higher technical level when it comes to these back post deliveries, switches to the other side. And let's not forget who we've got on the other side. It's likely going to be Maxi or Isak, who are both, if they're both receiving the ball in space, are extremely dangerous. So this offers us so much more of an option. So one of the reasons why in his most recent season, the passing percentage dropped off dramatically, it dropped down to a 77% passing accuracy, is because he moved onto the left side. So I might have to delete all my funny lines. Let's get rid of some of these. So last season, he moved over onto the left-hand side. And one of the big reasons why his passing accuracy has dropped is he's right-footed. So when you think about that, he's not going to be able to play an open foot shot down the line. Most of his passes are going to be central in a more contested area. He is going to lose the ball a little bit more often, especially if his instruction is to play the more dangerous passes. So naturally, his passing accuracy is going to go down through no fault of his own. You know, not everybody is Messi and David Silva. He's still an incredible passer of the ball, and his long-range passing is brilliant. But that is one way of explaining, is because he's been moved over into that left side. I think he's far more proficient on the right and a little bit more comfortable on the right. There's no reason we need to play him on the left at all in our team. I think it just suited the way Milan needed it. Secondly, Milan's style also adjusted as well last season. They went a lot more direct with their style of play. And a lot of that was down to, well, it was down to a few reasons. They just went more direct, and therefore Tonali is the guy tasked with a lot of ball creation, sort of long balls, balls over the top, through balls, these kinds of things. He's going to lose the ball more. If he's trying more audacious long passes, it's going to have a knock-on effect on his passing percentage. So I wouldn't worry about that. Some of the data does look a little bit funny, but you've got to remember this guy is being tasked with being an 8, sometimes a 6, sometimes just being a full-on box-to-box sprinting athlete, sometimes floating out to the right and pinging sort of switch balls, crosses. He's taken all the set pieces. The guy's everywhere. He's absolutely quality, and I've not even got to set pieces yet. I'm going to shut up for a minute, so maybe Billy can talk and we can do some comments.
Yeah, Jack, it's just on this alone though. Really, the involvement of Tonali over the past 2 or 3 seasons, it promises a lot for us, isn't it? Because he's obviously able to adapt to certain positions, different positions, and that's going to help us out, isn't it?
Yeah, it just provides that extra support when going forward or defending. Like Alex said, when Trippier and Miggy are on the right-hand side, Tonali can come and support and provide better stuff offensively than Longstaff and Maywood. And don't get me wrong, Longstaff's a brilliant player. He can hit a shot, can't he? He's hit a few. But Tonali's just that step above. A few steps above Longstaff because he's got a lot of experience under his belt. But the involvement of Tonali is absolutely brilliant. As we know, he covers so much ground across the whole 90 minutes. The heat maps are brilliant. The involvement is just immense. And the involvement he's going to have on the pitch in the Premier League for Newcastle is going to be incredible. No Newcastle player will be on the ball empty-handed because they'll still have... Tonali will be somewhere next to them, somewhere. So it won't be that hard to find Tonali on the pitch, that's for sure.
I agree with that. He does like to be around the ball. That's definite. So Robson says, with people comparing Tonali to Pirlo or even Gattuso, I think he's wrong personally. I think he's a closer match to De Rossi than the other two. What do you think? Alex, what do you think, mate? I've got my own opinion here.
Yeah, this has been mentioned in a lot of videos across YouTube. I'd say that's a fair assessment. I think he is a lot closer to De Rossi. I think the Pirlo comments are purely because of his hair and passing range. He does profile very different physically. Gattuso as well. I don't think he's quite as physical as Gattuso. I think De Rossi is a better comparison. I think it's De Rossi with slightly better passing. I think Tonali has the potential to be better than De Rossi career-wise. It is very early days, though. De Rossi was an excellent player. But yeah, I'd agree with that. There's definitely a lot of videos suggesting the same. So
I agree. I think De Rossi's a Pirlo Gattuso hybrid, if you like. And I think Tonali's the same. I think Tonali's the same. So yeah, I agree with that. Bob says, hi, Billy, Alex and Jack. Great news on a new signing. It certainly is. The evening of the A1. Scott Robson says, I speak 6 languages, Alex, if you want to be taught. And 3 kisses at the end. That's odd. There you go. Clive's in the house. If Karl Darlow is good enough for Bournemouth, why is he not good enough as our number 2? Interesting question, Jack.
Very interesting question. Very good question as well. As we know, our goalkeepers are Pope, Karius, Dubravka, and of course Darlow. Dubravka we know is a good goalkeeper. We've got a lot of goalkeepers in line for second position, third position. Pope's obviously going to take the first position because Pope is just Nick Pope. You're not going to get in front of him. For me, second position depends if Dubravka wants to move. We don't know that. Depends. We don't know yet if teams want to come in for him or not. Darlow, it's hard to say. It really, really is hard to say. For me, for Darlow's future, personally, I don't see Dubravka moving. But so for Darlow's future, I'd like to see him move to a permanent club where he gets starting every single week. I don't think I think he's good enough for our second position. But I feel like we've got too many goalkeepers in line.
Yeah, I think our 2 above him, 3 above him, really. I think Karius, Dubravka, and obviously Pope are all better than him. So that's probably why we see him surplus to requirements. Would-be Farmer says, today is the USA's celebration of independence from King George and Shakespeare and Austin Powers. It would be a great day for the Toon to sign a Yank.
Definitely wouldn't. More like an Italian.
Yes, indeed. I rate saying hello to Mr. Spoons. Hope you're on, Mr. Spoons. Jimmy FM said he's good enough, just whether he wants to sit on the bench for another season or not. Probably doesn't. Talking about Karl Darlow. Fuzzy Hack says, they've been wet and windy, now sunny down here in Cornwall. Yeah, it's a bit the same here in the Midlands. So it's been piddling down all day. Scott says, not sure how Patreon works for cast, but put links in the channel, lads. I'm sure Paul will do that.
I'll post another link to it now in the chat for everyone.
Sophia says, hysterical podcast or historical? Historical.
A bit of both.
Oh, they may turn hysterical. But it'd be myself and Tom. Stuart says to Would-be Farmer, we were sorry to have let you go. It was us, not you. Of course, we will stay as friends. Yeah, that's kind of Dear John letter from Great Britain to the US there. he will get some. Clive thinks Darlow would get a few games. He wouldn't, would he? Dubravka would be number 2. I mean, how many games did our number 3 get last season? 1, and that was because one was cup tied, the other one was suspended. So, yeah, I don't think he would get many games. Adam says, annoying me how Sky and BBC are saying most expensive Italian player, no pressure Sandro. He's not actually the most expensive Italian player. It's Jorginho that is £1 million more, apparently. So, it's erroneous. Ian Skinner says, I like the new NUFC press release where he looked like a character from Grand Theft Auto. Interesting. I haven't seen that one. Happy Monday, says Anthony. And Jason Midlands Mag says, even lads and lassies, just had me past the ball and got pizza later on out of the next Newcastle icon. What we got next, Alex? Where we're heading with next?
So we can have a look at the data from. So this was the most recent season at Milan. So improved slightly on the progressive carries. Decent shot creating action still. It's not the best reading statistically, but again, he's tasked with so much.
Give it a zoom, mate.
Take it with a pinch of salt.
Give us a quick zoom.
Yeah, there we go. So there we go. That's the data for the last season. It doesn't look absolutely incredible, but again, he does his job. He's very, very good at carrying the ball. He's good at creating chances for other teammates. His assist metrics are through the roof. He's very, very careful on the ball as well. And you can see it in the little graphic here where it's slightly different. So let's actually get our team up and how it's going to look potentially with him in the squad. I know the squad numbers aren't exactly perfect. I know Isak's not number 10, but still, it is what it is. We're doing it just for the graphic. So Tonali's in there. So how is this gonna help us? How is Tonali going to help us in this formation? Well, we've already talked a little bit about those switches and long balls. If we compare something in terms of long balls, so where is my information? So the average pass length of Tonali was 22 meters, which was more than Bruno's and Longstaff's last season. Bruno's was only 17.64 and Longstaff's was 16.46. So we're going to get somebody who can, although Bruno's long passing range seems, when I'm watching it seems outrageously good. Tonali's is better, which is, I feel like that's such a treat. A few people saying, where's Maxi on the... Yeah, I know. But you, as much as I love Maxi, Isak is better as a complete player. Maxi is very much a winger and a magician, whereas Isak can kind of do the same dribbly, but he's also a goal scorer and a centre forward. So Isak can't get dropped. You cannot drop Alexander Isak from this team. It would be a crime. And Maxi is off to Bournemouth. Bore off. That is nonsense. So in terms of other things he can do in this setup, switches in these long passes to the left side. We've mentioned this in the previous graphic. Let me move my notes. So when we're kind of up here and Wilson's in the box, if you've got these kinds of shenanigans where we're kind of set up in this sort of shape in the halfway line, where we've got our funny little 3 and maybe Trippier and Miggy are up here doing funny Trippier and Miggy things, and we end up with this kind of shape, there's definitely the potential here for, well, it's just an extra ball. We don't actually have a ball. Let's bring a ball up here. There we go. So previously, this would be Longstaff, and you don't really know where the ball's going to... Well, you do know exactly where the ball's going to go. The ball's potentially going to get dinked over the top by Bruno, because he tried this ball many times. I don't know if you guys remember this. He tried this little chip over the top, which worked lovely at the start of the season. And then the second half, it didn't work at all, because everybody cottoned onto this little dink over the top for Miggy or Longstaff. And then it would be a case of Trippier and Miggy trying to overlap and trying to get it in the box with Miggy's refusal to use his right foot. However, now we've got Tonali that can drop into this sort of space and play these nice balls to the back post to Wilson, or he can get a nice flat switch over to either Joe Linton, like a flat ball across, or he can maybe from a little bit deeper try and release Isak or Maxi or even Gordon in space on this side to run into and create something in the box. So this is just, it's something that Longstaff just couldn't do. Longstaff had his qualities, but these kinds of deep sort of switches, back post crosses, it's not in Longstaff's locker. He tried them I don't even remember him trying them that often. I think it was more of an instructional thing not to do them, because I think it's about ball retention. you're going to let people with the quality try those balls. That's why so much of our delivery came through Cher or Trippier, because they were the people trusted to deliver these dangerous balls. So that is definitely something that's going to be offered that we never ever had before. So 100% he's going to be an 8, 100%. There might be occasions where in build-up, or if we lose the ball or something, depending on maybe these two have kind of swapped around trying to make some space and the ball's turned over for whatever reason. Tonali is more than comfortable of backpedaling and being a defensive shield, trying to get some ball recovery, put a foot in. He's athletic enough to get back. He's not slow. He's going to be very useful and more than competent. And if he manages to get the ball back, or we get the ball back here, he's more than good enough again to use that long-range passing. And look what you've got all of a sudden. Who are the two people in charge of some long-range passing? You've got Tonali and Fabian Cher. Either way, it's going to be a proficient pass. I do think Tonali does need to stay more on this right-hand side, but that's fine because we know that Willock and Joe Linton are more than comfortable on this left side. But Tonali in this setup just gives us so much more in terms of attacking quality options. We talked about we need the key to unlock those low blocks against like Bournemouth and those teams we were getting, Palace as well, we struggled against. This is how we do that. We pull opponents to one side. We deliver a nice switch over the top. It's a great way to do it. It's how Man City have had to try and learn how to break teams down. A lot of people talking about left backs. It's not something we're looking at tonight, but I'm just sort of I'm having a look at how we played last season. How would we do it with Tonali? I'm not going to drop Burn just for the sake of the Tonali show. You know, we've got to Burn will. I'm assuming Burn is going to play 20 or 30 matches next season. He's not just suddenly going to disappear. He's still an important part of the squad for sure.
And interesting, you speak about the switches. We saw it last night with Portugal, didn't we? They were doing it virtually all the second half, putting England side to side, and that is in big, deep trouble at certain times of the game. Just want to talk about the low block thing. I mean, last season, I think I said it a few times about the slowness of getting the ball to Maxi. Used to go via Cher to Botman to Burn to Maxi in 4 passes. That changes now. Tonali can do it in 1, can't he? And that'll help Maxi out.
Exactly. So occasionally that pass would go to him from Bruno or Cher, but not very often. It was quite often Maxi would receive it deeper and was releasing Isak. That was the more dangerous ball. But I just feel like there is a universe somewhere where Maxi and Isak are up there together receiving the long balls from Cher and Bruno, and it is absolute havoc for the other team because they are good enough. Like, we don't need that many players left up top to do damage. Isak and Maxi together with combinations are quite capable of taking on half a team. So whether we've got the ball and we're all camped in their half trying to break them down with switches and careful play, or whether we just want to ping a long ball to those two up top, either way will get it done. And then in a world where we start talking about Miggy being upgraded potentially as well, then this gets even more exciting.
Indeed, Jack. All those kind of way Tonali plays, where he's going to play, what he does with the ball, it's all heartwarming, isn't it? It really is.
It is, and we want the squad depth. Here it is. I mean, with Tonali in, it's just like Alex said, just that unlock of the door, and there you go. Look at our midfield. That is mint. That is a mint midfield. I mean, you've got Willock on the bench, you've got Longstaff on the bench, you've got a packed midfield there, and only one player solved that. One player, not 2 or 3. One player's equaled all that depth, and the amount of stuff Tonali can do with the ball, switches, free kicks. Oh, he can do the lot. There's nothing this guy can't do, apart from probably a goalkeeper. But I'm not going to talk about that. But Tonali is a class player, and the amount of depth he provides for the team, and just gives Eddie Howe that less of a headache in midfield, knowing that Tonali can do a bit more in that midfield than some other players can't. And some teams better be scared next season of this midfield. Because it is like the likes of Crystal Palace and Bournemouth, then just bogey teams you can't break down. They come to St James and they go farther the back, they go defensive, and this is the way to break them down, as well as Alex said, because it's just the way. And Bournemouth, we'll try and beat Crystal Palace at home for once next season.
Yeah, I think you're right. Mr. Spoon says, "Hello, Billy, Alex, and Jack. Hope you're all well, lads. Looking forward to coming on the show tomorrow to promote my latest fundraiser for Kids Sport in North East. Yes, I think we believe we have a transfer show tomorrow night, which Mr. Spoons will be coming on to promote his latest charity thing he's doing. All worthwhile there. So if you come and join us tomorrow, you'll see what he's got involved there." Flex says, "Chelsea trying to buy everyone, Paul. They would put a bid in for Tonali's interpreter if they could." Yeah, they do seem to be like spending money, and seems to be FFP doesn't seem to exist for them. Seems to be keen on a new challenge, says Paul Tully. Lewis says, "Is Dan Ashworth still in Italy? He said he wasn't leaving until he had 2 players." I'm not sure if that's true or not, but it'd be great if it was. Jack, who else would you fancy buying?
Who else do I fancy buying? We're looking at a few fullbacks in Italy. I mean, if he can go for another AC Milan player, I'd love it because of the imagine the saltiness out of the AC Milan fans if we steal another one of their players. But I'd definitely like a fullback. I'm not sure which one. I can't remember the name, but I'd definitely like another. Yeah, Teo Hernandez, but that's going to be tricky negotiations. Very, very tricky and expensive fullback he is, and hefty wages. Yeah, I'd at least we need a left back. If we get a quality fast left back, then I'll be sorted, and then Dan Ashworth can be given the green light to come back to Newcastle. But until he gets another player, he can't come back. We'll make that clear for him.
Buck Tyler says some of these elite younger players must be having their heads turned by the projects at Newcastle, especially with the likes of Botman, Isak, Tonali or joiners. That's a good point. That is, players that have wanted to leave the clubs come to a club that's going places. You know, it's the biggest projects in world football, eliminate Jack, isn't it? So yeah, signing players like Tonali can only help us get more in, can't it?
Yeah, it's exciting. People want to be a part of this. I mean, Botman said it. Why'd you come to Newcastle? The project. I want to be a part of this team because they are going to go places. They are going to win trophies, and the fan base is just going to go mental once we win a trophy. Hopefully next season, it's going to be mad, and that's why players want to come here. The project, because we've got so much to look forward to in the future. The manager, class manager, and the backroom staff, brilliant. The players, brilliant. The way Eddie Howe's got this team playing is absolutely brilliant, and it intrigues players. Yes, Eddie Howe's not the high caliber of the Jurgen Klopps or Pep Guardiola's, but if players are actually sensible enough to actually look into Eddie Howe's play style, they'll know that he's a class manager and he can do wonderful things with players. So yeah, it's all the project and it's all exciting for the players. No wonder they want to join Newcastle, not just for the project, for the fans, the city, the stadium, everything.
And the age as well, Alex, is 23 years of age. He's crammed a lot into that 5 years, hasn't he? Considering he's, just 23. Crammed an awful lot in.
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of move. It does seem a little bit early for this. I did expect him, whether we got him or not, I was expecting him to still be at Milan for another 2 or 3 years. Whether he would be a one-man club, obviously he was at Brescia, but whether he was going to stay there his whole career, I don't know. But I didn't expect him to move again this early. But he seems very keen. I mean, today, his statement when he signed today, he put, "First of all, I want to thank Newcastle United because they are giving me a huge opportunity for my career. I want to repay the trust on the pitch, giving it my all as I always have. I'm really excited about playing at St James's Park, and I can't wait to feel the warmth of the fans." So I would imagine that was probably translated for us, but still, it's a nice personal message, and it's very respectful. Talking about the trust we've shown to sign him, he seems to understand that there's responsibility to come to this club and perform, and not necessarily perform, but try. We always, not everybody always hits the ground running, but if we can see the effort and improvement and that desire, and I like the sort of choice of words. I think that's very important. I think he's definitely got the right attitude.
Without a doubt. Jamie says, "Do we know what number he'll be assigned?" I don't think we do at the moment, do we?
What did Adam P choose? Did he choose 8?
Adam Pearson is literally 20. Adam Pearson is like literally fingers crossed 20. Otherwise, he's just wasted 70 quid.
But he did that with Gordon, didn't he? Didn't he have a 20 shirt for Gordon?
Yeah, he got Gordon wrong with 20.
So maybe 20 is the jinx number for him. I don't know. Will they give him the number 8 shirt and eventually give Gordon that 20 shirt? I don't know if they will or not. Possible,
15 is it 15 an available number?
15 it might be.
20.
I think Gordon should give it up
25?
and let Tonali have it.
I think you want to go lower. The lower the number, the better for me.
Yeah, of course. We've got players going out the door. I mean, what numbers Darlow?
26.
I'm not sure.
26, yeah.
If Lascelles goes, you never know.
6, yeah. You could take the 6. Yeah, that fits.
It's a possibility.
Or, of course, if Maxi goes, give him the 10.
That could be a real cheeky one. That could destroy Adam P's thing there. If Jamal Lascelles goes out on loan really quickly and boom, Tonali gets the number 6. Like, it's not likely, but there's no reason it couldn't happen. It makes sense.
You never know.
Adam says, I think Tonali's offensive stats are a little exaggerated as he takes all set pieces, so not many from open play. He is quite proficient at set pieces, though, isn't he, Alex? He's fantastic at them.
Yeah, he's very, very good at set pieces. Having watched him as well in the under-21s tournament, his set pieces from deep, his corner kicks, out swinging, in swinging were brilliant. He'd always put them on a dime. There was variation to them, direct free kicks. It was tidy. I think it's unfair to say his stats are inflated because of them. I'm not sure they are. That's why his shot creating actions are so high, because I think he's always the pass before the pass, or the pass before something key. He's the one that sort of sets it up in the background. That's what Fabian Schär does very well as well. Doesn't often get the credit he deserves, because something that he started ends up in a goal 2 to 3 moves later on. But it was him that started that whole, that one line breaking pass creates chaos for the other team. People are out of position. Everything goes wrong. Boom, it's a goal. And that's what Tonali's so good at. He's the one that there'll be a sort of a contested situation in the middle, and he will win the ball, burst past one player like a short distance, and then release it in a dangerous manner. And then that's it. It'll end up in a shot or a decent offensive move. We'll win a set piece. We'll win a corner. We'll score a goal. And then Tonali won't get credited with an assist or anything directly, but he was instrumental in starting that whole move off. That's kind of what he's about. That's why you've got to look beyond, sort of deeper with the data. He doesn't always get the credit he deserves, I think, with the statistics.
No, and I'll tell you what else those stats don't show is the amount of ground he covers. He's everywhere, isn't he? He literally follows the ball around, moving it from side to side, up and down the pitch. And he's got pace. He's got really rangy strides to him, and he covers the ground rapidly, doesn't he, Jack?
Yeah, he does. Like, whenever he gives the ball to wide or at the back, whenever someone's making runs, you'll see the space. He always wants to be involved, and that's why he covers so much ground. And defensive work he does as well. He's everywhere, and he's literally the number 8. He's the middle of the whole play. He's everywhere, and that is not just good for Tonali. That's good for the players around him as well, because they know that in their mind he's got the ball. I've got the ball now. Tonali's not going to be that far away. So it's going to be quite easy to find him as well. So yeah, it doesn't really get shown enough about how much ground gets covered, but it's such a key to football with how much ground you cover, because it helps the team out so much in terms of going forward and breaking down play.
Yeah, I agree. It's really important. We are united with Chris Baker said Alex has more than his homework on Tonali over the last few days. How many days have you been doing this for, Alex? I mean, we've been pretty sure we've been signing for nearly a fortnight now. It's been a big project.
Well, I've been digging for about a week. It's not something that it's difficult to put into a live show. I definitely think it's something me and Paul have been discussing behind the scenes about doing some stat pre-record stuff, because it means we can take our time on it, we can edit it, and we can make it more interesting. Whereas it is quite hard on the fly to piece all of this together and screen share and nip bits, So I try my best, but it's definitely, I don't want to take too much credit, because a lot of it is, some of it's me watching Tonali and looking at the data, but there's a lot of it from, as I said, from Jake Jackson, Edit Kev, Sanjay does great work. There's decent pieces from The Athletic, and there's a lot of sites I use. So it's not, I am somebody who just uses data and likes to take things in. So, you guys can all see this as well. This is all free. It's all out there. You can go and read this, but obviously the whole point in me being here is I like to go and do this myself as a fun little hobby. So if you guys don't have time, I just spit out all the information for you. So,
Goat Father says, would you guys consider Tonali as elite? I'm quoting Eddie Howe in signing 3 elite players this transfer window? Jack, elite or not elite?
Elite. He's elite. I mean, at such a young age, he's elite. I mean, I don't know what else to say to it. He's not average. He's elite, and he can get even better than this. So he's definitely elite for me.
Alex?
I don't know if he said elite. So I've got the quote here, Eddie Howe on Sandro Tonali. Sandro is an exceptional talent, has the mentality, physicality and technical attributes to be a great fit for us. At 23, Sandro already has important experience in the Champions League, as well as playing for his country. But he also has the opportunity and potential to grow and evolve with us, and I'm excited to add him to our squad as we approach the exciting season ahead. So exceptional talent, mentality, physicality, technical attributes. He didn't say elite specifically. We've got to quote him. If we're going to quote him, we've got to quote him correctly. But I feel like that is absurd praise from Eddie Howe. And it's very, very high praise. And it's quite easy, to be honest, isn't it? It's not difficult to say he's a good player. We know he's a good player. Is he? It depends what you class as elite. Because whatever I say, somebody will argue with me. Somebody will say I'm wrong. So is elite the teams and players who get to the semi-final of the Champions League? Is elite anybody who's good enough to just qualify for the Champions League? Like, what is it? It depends on your definition of elite. Personally, how I would define elite, I think he's close. If he's not already there, he's close.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he's right on the verge of it now. I think he gets into most international sides, but possibly not all of them. I think to be elite, you've got to be. If you were going to pick a world-class 11, he'd be in it. And
I think he'd start for England ahead of Jordan Henderson and
100%. Yeah, I agree. Half the price of Declan Rice. Declan Rice is a great player, but is he twice as good as Tonali? Absolutely not. Mickey says, can you guys not pull up some clips of him? No, we can't. Because it's copyright laws that make us not able to do that. So, no, I'm afraid we can't. But there's plenty of it on YouTube to look at. He's a baller. Dennis says, I would say that Tonali plus 1 year of Howe would make him elite. That's a fair comment, I think. That's a very fair comment. I don't think he's necessarily been bought for on the ball stuff. I think it's mostly off the ball, like Longstaff. No, definitely not. Definitely not. This guy can do stuff with the ball at his feet. Alex has been through all the stats, his passing ability, where he's on the pitch, set pieces. Nah, I think you're wrong there, Jason. I think both of those. He's got both of those talents. I don't think you can be
sorry,
any more
Jason.
wrong
You are chatting the deepest of shites there. I do apologise. I respect your opinion, but his on the ball stuff is literally what we've signed him for. And the add-on is that he's also quite good physically and off the ball and has a bit of intensity. He is the extra key passing, crossing, switching. Like, that is literally, we needed somebody else. But that's what we've been saying for the last year. We need Longstaff with a bit more technical ability. That's Tonali. Literally Tonali.
That's Tonali. Taking Longstaff's spot then as agent tech streams. Jack, what's good about this is it will, hopefully, push Sean into getting a bit better. Just improving his game. Yeah,
I mean, like he hasn't improved it already. He improved massively last year, and this will just push him on even more. Because he's from Newcastle himself. He's a Geordie, and the one thing I want to do to Geordie, if he's is play for Newcastle and start for Newcastle week in, week out, and to have a player like Tonali coming in, should be worried because he's a top player. I'm not sure if he means to Longstaff, but Tonali's better than Longstaff. Tonali's not Tonali. Longstaff is going to be thinking to himself, right, I've got Tonali in my position. I'm not getting ahead of Jolinton or Bruno. I've got to push myself now. I've got to go for it. And hopefully that can thrive him onto playing even more, impressing Eddie Howe even more at training. It's going to take a lot. To get ahead of the three in midfield, but we'll see what happens.
Can I just say something about, because Arturo is cállate por favor niño, ¿qué dices? Arturo is chatting nonsense in the chat about pressure, taking pressure off Bruno, all this nonsense. So last season, Tonali carried the ball 34 times per 90 with a 95% success rate. And total 281 carries under pressure and completed 86.5% of those. So the data backs up the fact that he's careful with the ball. He can carry the ball. He's not going to lose it very often. He's very, very tidy with it. He looks after the ball. Ball is baby. Don't lose baby. Literally, he's great at that. That is what he's perfect at. So sorry, I thought, but the data does not, visually and data both disagree with you. He's more than capable of looking after the ball.
Indeed. Simon says, how's Hinson's using Gordon as a third striker if needed? Jack, have you seen much of Gordon in the 21's tournament?
I did see him in Portugal when you guys are doing the watch along for him. I had you guys on in the background, of course, because you're better commentary than UEFA TV. But Gordon. I mean, he said himself that Gordon, he's feeling himself up front. But he is. He's loving it up front, and I'm pleased for him because he got that goal against Chelsea, and he said that he's not up to his standards. He's going to go away with the under-21s, get fitter. Get ready for the next season because it's a big season for Gordon, big season to prove to everyone, prove everyone wrong, and that he can be a starter in the Newcastle squad. Morgan Gibbs-White did brilliant to feed him in the box. Not the best ball to get a shot off because that could easily go over the bar, but he dispatched it brilliantly. Keep knee over the ball, leant over, and there's only one place that's going, back of the net. And he deserves that thoroughly. He works so hard. I remember what Alex said. You can tell he's come from a Newcastle dressing room because you can tell he's far apart from the other players. That's no disrespect. He works hard. He was probably the hardest work on the ball. No wonder he got man of the match. He was absolutely sensational against Portugal, and he just worked on and on and on and on and on till I like Billy said, I thought his hamstring did snap for a second because he worked that hard and he ran so far.
Oh, he was knackered.
He was
absolutely to go on another 60 seconds. He couldn't have completed it.
No,
he was done.
He was absolutely knackered. I mean, he just fell on the floor after the game, and I don't blame him. Because I couldn't run that far, that's for sure. But he played incredible.
Can I just mention something? So Lee Francis in the chat has just mentioned Tonali score goals as well. So yeah, my bad. Again, this is the problem with doing it on a live show. It's difficult for me to remember everything I'm supposed to do. I need to have a script ready, really. So goal scoring is not something he's prolific at. I wouldn't expect him to come in and score bucket loads. He's not going to be Frank Lampard. However, I don't think it's unreasonable to suggest he's going to score sort of Bruno levels of goals. Somewhere between 5 and 10. I would expect a season of 6 or 7, maybe. If we can get 6 or 7 goals and 6 or 7 assists from him, I think that's an exceptional season for him, and considerably more than we've got out of Longstaff and Willock. Although Willock arguably, and Longstaff, they've massively underperformed their XG. I think if you combine Willock, Longstaff, Fabian, Schär, and Botman, they should have scored a combined probably 15 more goals than what they've actually scored because they just couldn't hit a barn door for most of the season. But Tonali is definitely a little bit more clinical. And I could see him scoring Bruno levels of goals, but I wouldn't get carried away expecting him to score more than 10. I think if he scores more than 10, it's going to be a fluke, not a fluke season, but probably one of the better seasons.
And remember, when Bruno came in, people said, expect everything, just don't expect goals. And versus the first full game he played, he was back flicking it into the net, wasn't he? So,
yeah. I think Bruno's offering us a decent goal return. I'm happy with Bruno's goal return. Although the back end of the season, there was quite a lot of shots. He'd take on those 20, 25-yard shots. I'd like to see a bit more accuracy with them going forward. I think Bruno could maybe score a little bit more. But I would expect much of the same from Tonali, kind of similar output.
Yeah, Vincent says Bruno is number 2, just behind Rodri for dealing with pressure in tight spaces. Maybe his best position is still that 6th role, but having Tonali interchanging with him will let him go forward. Yeah, I think that's what's going to happen, isn't it? They'll be fluctuating between the two depending on where they are. New striker is Anthony Gordon. That's going to save us a few quid, Alex, isn't it? Not having to spend on a third striker, which we probably would have done had Gordon not put his hand up in this tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I can't remember if I talked about this on camera or off camera with Paul. I've been really impressed with Anthony Gordon in this under-21s tournament. I think he's grown up a lot. He's matured. His positional awareness, his sense of responsibility to his tactics and his job. smelling danger, understanding when people are out of position and dropping in where necessary, leading the press. He wasn't getting stroppy with the lack of service. Playing as a centre forward, he had to be very patient. He's taking his chances well. I'm really impressed, to be fair. I was expecting maybe, if Gordon was going to pick it up, I expected to see some better Anthony Gordon in maybe August, like as preseason was going. I didn't expect to see such an improved Gordon like early July. Like, I'm very impressed. I'm quite excited, actually. I think he's yeah. And Arturo again with the negativity. Arturo, go and watch the highlights of the England game. Honestly, he was really good. He played very different for the U21s than he was doing for us. He looks fitter. He looks more, tactically savvy. He just looks a lot better. Much better with the ball as well. Lots of shots on target.
Yeah, he's going to feel like a new signing as well.
Yeah, he will do. He will do. He will.
But
yeah,
kind of true.
It's true, yeah. Right, so where do we think we're going to head next? Which part of the pitch are we going to improve next? Jack, where do you think we're going to look for next?
I would like a new left back, if I'm being honest. I mean, if I'm being honest, we need a left back. I just can't really stick with seeing Dan Burn in the Champions League. I love Dan Burn. I love him. But we need a left back who's pacey, who can provide support to the left winger, such as like Maxi or whoever's playing on the left wing. Didn't get that much support from Dan Burn. And we definitely need a pacey and a very fast left back who can cover and overlap at the same time. Well, not at the same time, but can do it for long periods of the game. So yeah, definitely a left back for me.
Stato?
No, I completely disagree. I don't think left back is a priority. I think it's on the list. It is important we address it at some point. But I think the panic position, and I've said this before, is an understudy to Fabian Schär, because we're going to have, Francisco alluded to this, we're going to have a minimum of 46 games next year, depending on whether we get through in certain tournaments. And if Fabian Schär does an ACL as the transfer window closes, we're buggered. We are very much up a creek without a paddle. We're in big, big trouble, because it's going to be Jamal Lascelles playing 30 games in the season, or we're going to have to do Burn and Botman, and then it's going to have to be Matt Targett playing every game as well. There's not going to be any choice for us back four-wise, it's not only going to have two left-footed centre-halves, it's going to also change the left back, drastically change the back four style. And that is literally just if Fabian Schär breaks, we're buggered. Whereas if Tonali gets injured for 2 months, Longstaff can come in and be competent. We know that. If Maxi's injured, Isak can do it. Gordon can play there. If Willock's injured, Joe Linton's there. We've got lots of cover for different positions on the pitch. But if Fabian Schär breaks, I'm a little bit nervous about what we do.
I think that's a fair comment.
Likewise for Trippier as well. If we got lucky last season that Trippier was fit for 37 games. Also, if Trippier breaks, who does what Kieran Trippier does?
Who's upset Arturo in the chat? Jesus Christ.
I don't know.
Where was he? I can't even see him.
Just at the bottom. I don't know what Arturo's on tonight.
We do have a new member. Matt Haynes has joined as a member. Welcome to the Toon Review community, mate. I'll entitle you to prize draws and things. Christ or two, I'll just see one of his comments. Jesus Christ. Take a chill pill, mate. Take a chill pill. Who's Reece Lozano in his own? Anyone know who he is?
Who what, sorry?
Reece Lozano.
Who? Reece Lozano?
I don't know who he is. He also says we go for Zubimendi as a CDM and Ferland Mendy left back.
Zubimendi's amazing. Ferland Mendy's amazing, but we're not going to get them.
Ferland Mendy's looking like he's going to Saudi, I think. Looking likely.
Does it?
Yeah, looking like it.
Foxy speaking Spanish to Arturo as well.
It's great. We've got lots of Spanish talk in the chat. David, I'll ask a question about Stato. What's Stato's issue with two left-footed centre-halves? Nobody cares when it's two right-footed centre-backs.
I mean, we do. So I did a piece on this when we signed Botman originally, and this was a piece in The Athletic as well that I borrowed from. It's about angles. It's all about passing angles. If you're on the left side as a right footer, trying to get a pass out onto that left side is more difficult with your weaker foot. You're going to opt for your right foot more often than not. and it's a more dangerous pass that's going to be intercepted due to the angle. It's always better, in my opinion, to have a left-footed, left-sided, left centre half and a right-footed, right centre half. So you can play on your strong foot outside to either side of the pitch, less chance of it being intercepted. And then because it's your stronger foot, you're going to be able to play the sort of penetrative pass in between the centre half and the winger of the opposition. I just think for balance and structure, it makes so much more sense. Look at how we play. It's all about balance and symmetry and shape, and build up with the inverted wingers, and just how we play. It just makes so much more sense. The coaching staff clearly agree with my hypothesis, and I learned it from them. I like it. I prefer it being balanced like that. I'm not saying you can't. Of course, you can play with 2 right-footed centre-halves and 2 left-footed centre-halves. It's fine. But it's just those fine margins. I know it seems like a margin that might make 1% of a difference, but if you factor in that and corners and throw-ins and this little detail and that little detail, all of a sudden it becomes 5%, 10%, and then you're winning more matches and winning more points, which is exactly how our coaching team work. Every stone must be overturned. We've got to explore every tactical possibility to try and win the match, especially in the past 18 months when we were lacking the quality against some of the bigger teams. That's why we were winning games, because we were just, he out tactically fought so many managers. It was very impressive for a young manager who was written off, to be fair.
I agree. Best of us says go for Tomori at centre back. Did cost a few quid, but I'll be in for that, would you? Great player.
Yeah, he's fast as well. Fast player.
Don't know why he's not playing for England. I really don't. I have no idea.
Southgate.
It just makes no sense whatsoever.
He loves his Tyrone Mings, Southgate, and Harry Maguire. He's got no chance tomorrow.
Right, folks, that's it. We've done an hour. We've spoke about Sandro Tonali. We looked in depth at him. Alex has done lots of work on that. We're back tomorrow with a transfer show, I do believe. Mr. Toon Trader will be joining us to promote his latest charity exploits. But until then, I guess we can say good night to you all. Thanks for joining us, of course. And of course, on the way out, hit that like button. Don't forget it. It's very important to us. So if you haven't subscribed and you like what you've seen, hit that subscribe button too. But until tomorrow, I guess it's just...
And make sure to check out the Patreon if you've not seen it yet as well.
Without a doubt. The links are in the chat and also at the top of the description of the actual show. So until tomorrow night, then, I guess it's just thanks to you, Stato. Thanks to you, Jack. We shall see you tomorrow night with the transfer show, and probably be a daily show from Paul tomorrow. Keep your eyes open. Notification bell. Click that and you'll know. But until tomorrow, how are the lads and lasses?
How are the lads?
Come back and check out some green.